and welcome to Life of the Party. Thank you very much. I'm Amy Chamberlain, chef and owner of the Perfect Wife Restaurant and the Other Woman Tavern. Tonight on Life of the Party, my guest is the self-proclaimed best Jersey-born Vermonter that I could have on my show, Matt Proft. Are you ready, Matt?
Let's do it.
All right. Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
So Matt and I have known each other since the 80s when he was delivering pheasants from Someday Farm to Ye Old Tavern where I was a sous chef. So we've known each other a long time, but it's only been in the past couple of weeks playing this show that we've actually really gotten to know each other, which has been tons of fun.
Yeah, has been.
So today we're making Maple Flan and Buttermilk Pancakes, and we've talked a lot about food, and it's obvious that you love to cook and you have a sincere interest in food.
Yeah, as we were discussing, you know, what it is we should do, and really Vermont is so incredible with all of its produce and products, meat, cheeses, the dairy side of things. It's wide open to anything. I guess today we're focusing on eggs, milk, and maple, which was all things that we produced at some point on the farm, and it's you know, the basis for so much. So
yeah.
flan came to mind, I guess. Well, for those very reasons. Yeah. Pretty much that's it.
Mix it together and there you have it.
Yeah. Traditional flan uses sugar, but when you're in Vermont, do like Vermonters.
Yeah, and it's a recipe that you made up.
Yeah, it was a natural diversion from cane sugar.
And so where did your interest in cooking first start?
Well, I think it first started when I started to eat. But I was always around the kitchen, you know, could make peanut butter and jelly, but always watching during holidays, Mom and Grandma and Aunt Dossie, and sometimes my dad would get in there as well, and they'd all be preparing for a big meal, and the kitchen was always too small for the kids, but they didn't mind us being nearby, or they'd throw us a bowl to help whip something or run the beaters outside in the dining room to give them more space. Wow. And I think it was more by osmosis that I just kind of became interested in food, and again, it goes back to eating. I mean, you want to eat, you want to
You're home alone, you want something
stuff.
good?
Yeah, right.
You just whip it up.
Yeah. So.
And flan, where did you first start making flan?
I was first introduced to flan as a sophomore in high school through Spanish class. Our topic, or our task, our homework, was to make something from Spain and bring it in to share. And I've got to say, I think, looking back, I think initially paella was way more interesting to me, but that was a little challenging as a sophomore, and something that I couldn't really transport. So
a lot of ingredients.
Flan came up. I don't really remember how it came out, but I know it was a success. I don't really remember much about making it. And then later in life, I guess I was reintroduced to it in Arizona, visiting my mom and dad who moved down there, and I ordered it at a restaurant, you know, thinking the best, and I couldn't eat it. It wasn't what I remembered or cared for. So
it's probably from a package, or made in such huge amounts.
Know. Yeah, there's different varieties.
Yep.
There's
Mexican flan
condensed milk,
sweetened condensed milk.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's that may have been what I was eating. Too sweet and a little heavier, if you will. So I said, I can do better.
So you went home and made it.
I think I went home and made it there. Because, again, the ingredients were there. So
yeah,
it
and
was
you've been making it for your family for years, because you have milk, you have eggs, you have maple syrup.
On a special occasion. It was always a fun thing. And the best, you know, I don't know, it's like digging potatoes or opening up presents. You never know what you're going to get.
Yes, that's true.
Until you
flip it
over. So that's kind of I don't know, that anticipation.
We get to open
fun.
presents today.
Yes, we do. And
we're
eat
not
them,
really
too.
sure until we flip it over. So, so obviously, you have a passion, as well as I, for local products. And did the pancake recipe that we're going to make today, did that come from a desire to use local stuff? Obviously, you have a large family you are always feeding. What I've learned about Matt is that he never measures anything. So we're going to have fun today measuring for you. Or just watch carefully how much a pinch and a handful is. So
what I normally would do when I started making pancakes, I guess I shunned the box pancake, and or didn't want to spend money on a packaged pancake mix. So what I normally would do is find a recipe. Joy of Cooking, Betty Crocker would give me a basic recipe, and I'd probably make that recipe to the T a couple times, and then I would often start in with variations on it.
Is that because you wanted it to be different, or?
Betty Crocker, white flour, eggs, milk, cane sugar. So now I'll use whole wheat flour or partial whole wheat, cornmeal, buckwheat flour, something to just spice it up, and just make it more appealing or more healthy.
Right.
Try to make it more wholesome, I think.
People are really into that today, eating what's better for you. And I worked at the Pancake House in Manchester in high school from probably 1982 to 87, and we had regular pancakes, whole wheat pancakes, and buckwheat pancakes on the menu. And I was always so surprised how many buckwheat pancakes we sold.
Oh, really?
People loved them.
Huh. They've got a ring to it. It's sort of like flapjacks or buckwheat.
Yeah. It's fun to say.
Yeah.
Buckwheat.
But you little rascals. But you have to go easy. Buckwheat's pretty potent. I only use about 50%.
Well, a girl that I worked with, Linda Vaccaro, she had to leave the kitchen when we made buckwheat pancakes because when she ingested the flour, she would get sick.
Huh.
So there's something weird about buckwheat flour, as well as good for you. I guess it is potent in more ways than nutritious.
But in making those recipes, so then I would take variations and go from there. And oftentimes, with something, I would make it over and over and over, and try variations, and sometimes for months on end. Certainly not every day, but if I was making a cornbread, I know at one point I made so many different varieties of cornbreads, and probably a couple a week, and just had a fascination with, what can we do? And there's some pretty amazing cornbreads. Oh, we had I think it was a New York Times cookbook, and it had recipes from all over the country. So they had quite a variety of recipes and styles, and it was always kind of fun to explore that.
It definitely is. Not to make the same thing every time, just have like one recipe that you sort of can do without thinking about, and then be able to add to it and change it up and surprise people.
Yeah. And when it was a big surprise and we didn't care for it, we could always feed it to the chickens. So that was fun too.
Well, luckily, the perfect wife, we don't have a chicken coop because everything comes out great. So we're also going to taste some bacon.
Yes.
We in talking about all Vermont products, when we were meeting about the show, we said, well, we'll make flan, and then, we'll already have eggs and milk and syrup. Well, let's make pancakes. And then we thought, well, you can't have pancakes without bacon. So we're going to taste 3 different kinds of bacon. We're going to taste bacon from pigs raised from Pink Boot Farm in Wells, correct? They're in Wells? Right near Lake St. Catherine.
They're
right?
West Paulet,
West Paulet,
I believe,
okay.
yeah.
We're going to taste some Wallingford Locker bacon, and we're going to taste some bacon from Cisco, because we just want to be able to look at it and taste it and see the difference. And it's going to be very interesting. You'll all be quite surprised at the variance between the different kinds of bacon.
Yeah, and we're really not comparing apples to apples here. There's quite a variation, but that could be another show when we focus in on Vermont-grown bacon.
There we go.
Yeah, we could mix that
Pack the house.
bacon show with Death by Chocolate, because
Yeah.
I think they're covering bacon with chocolate now.
Yeah,
I think
they
they're
are.
covering everything
Yeah.
with chocolate.
So are you ready to cook?
I'm ready to cook.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go.
All right.
All right, Matt. It's time for me to learn how to make your exquisite maple flan.
Okay, yes. Well, here we got our main ingredients, Vermont ingredients. We have some beautiful eggs from Someday Farm. Look at those, gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
We've got some milk from the Battenkill Valley Farm over in Salem, which produces cream, milk, and unhomogenized milk, so you have that old-fashioned cream on the top option if you like. And syrup, you have a supplier.
Yeah, the syrup is from Scott McChesney
Okay.
in Pollitt.
In Pollitt,
Yeah,
sure.
it brings me
Great.
5-gallon jugs at a time. It's heavy.
Nice. 55 pounds, I think.
Jeez,
Yeah,
Louise.
or
I can
thereabouts.
pick it up, but I can't pour it.
Okay. Well, so the difference between this maple recipe and what you'll find in a traditional book is that we're using maple syrup as our sweetener. How would you say?
In the custard?
In the custard.
And caramelized for the caramel part.
For the caramel part, right. Whereas the recipe in both of the Joy and Betty Crocker talk about boiling sugar, cane sugar, which is quite a process in itself. I've never done that, but
It's pretty much the same thing.
you have to be very careful.
A little more careful,
yeah.
yes, yes.
But why bother when you have syrup already
Right.
in liquid form? So we've got syrup, and we've already reduced that. Do you want to mix first here?
Yeah, well, let's make the
Okay.
flan mixture.
So we need one more egg here, is that right?
Yes.
To get our 5 eggs with 2 extra egg yolks.
5 eggs and 2 egg yolks. In the Joy of Cooking, it calls for, I believe, 4 eggs and 2 egg yolks. And I added an extra egg, I believe, because of the liquid of the maple syrup. Because you need a little bit more egg to turn it into custard.
Okay.
And you'll notice that Matt is composting his eggshells. And
Composting, yes. Well, composting's been a big part of my life. And for years, it's been the basis or nutrition of the organic movement throughout the state and the country, really. Compost is what we do with organic waste from the kitchens, the food process. So we've got the eggs. Go ahead.
I'll get back to you.
We've got, as I say, anything plant or animal can go in a compost pile. If you're composting at home, maybe you don't want to put too many animal parts in there to keep the critters to a minimum, but
And the smell, maybe.
and the smell too, yeah, and the neighbors' dogs.
Oh, I have one of those neighbor's dogs. My dog is the neighbor's dog. Sorry, Heatons. Okay, so we're going to add the sweetener now to the eggs. Instead of using the 3/4 of a cup of sugar that the Joy of Cooking calls for, we're using a 1/2 cup of maple syrup and 1/4 cup of sugar. And I put the pinch of salt right in there too.
So that's pretty well blended.
And go ahead.
I don't know that we can overbeat this.
Well, one thing you don't want to do is make it too frothy, because then you incorporate a lot of air into it and you end up scooping a lot of the froth off before you pour it in.
Okay.
Right? It's like a beer with a big head. The head is not as worthy as the actual beer. So
Right.
we want to put as little air in as we can.
So we've scalded the milk or heated it to a
Yep, to a scald, basically.
scald.
And we'll temper the eggs little by little. And the way I feel is when the bowl starts to get a little bit warm, you know you're good to go. And I think we're good to go. And that skin, we're going to pour right in there.
Mm-hmm. I can get that. You want that?
Sure, we're going to strain it anyway.
Too hot, and we would cook the eggs right in the bowl. So we want to make sure we're not too hot. After we scald the milk, we let it cool slightly before adding. Okay.
All right.
I think we're there.
Now, because
and I'm not feeling any sugar in there.
Good.
So it's dissolved, which is what we're looking for.
Okay.
All right.
Nice smooth custard. And we're going to strain it because there might be some bits of egg. And creme caramel is creamy, delicious mouthfeel, and you don't want any bits in there. You don't want to come across scrambled eggs in your creme caramel. So we're just going to strain it just in case there's a big chunk of albumin in there or something. Albumin is the little snotty white stuff in the egg that actually connects the yolk.
It's the membrane that surrounds the yolk, that holds the yolk in place.
There we go.
Okay. Can I take that?
I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Now the next exciting step.
So there that is. Nice and strained.
Looks gorgeous. Okay, now. Hello. Would you like to light for me? No, 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 no. There we go. All right. So this is really the hardest part of the whole recipe.
Mm-hmm.
What is how do you tell? And then I'll say how I tell.
Well, I was never, just like not measuring, I never used a thermometer. I didn't worry too much about I knew I had to take some water out of the syrup in order for it to work.
To cling
to the bottom of the tin. But I know at times I've taken too much out because I would get crystals in the bottom of my custard
like
cups.
rock candy?
A little bit of rock candy. So I would still get some syrup out, but I had lost some too, which, you can eat that, but it's not ideal.
Smooth.
Yeah,
like the flan.
right. So I'm not the expert on the maple side of things.
Well,
my approach was feed the mouths.
children.
Yes. So
that looks good. Let's pour it and get it over with. But you still had a passion for it. I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
It had to be good. So, in order to teach a lot of people how to make this, I actually tested the temperature at which the syrup became the right consistency, which to me was 235 degrees. If you do not have a thermometer, and the way that we learned in culinary school to tell when something is at the softball stage, which is pretty much when it gets very sticky and clingy before it starts to turn to a dark caramel. You can see that it's boiling right there. Now, in real life, this was on the stove for about 10 minutes at low heat. You never want to walk away. Did you ever walk away?
Made messes before.
Yeah.
Tough to clean up.
And your whole house smells like a sugar house, which isn't bad, but then it also smells like a fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we learned, and I wrote it on your recipes, never stick your finger in a pot of boiling sugar or maple syrup. It's tempting, and I've done it once. I learned my lesson. You dip the tip of a knife in, and then you put a little on your finger. And see that? You want it to be stretchy. You got that, Ann? Put it down there. See how it, and it burns. It hurts. All right? But just a little bit. So here I am.
Look at that.
There's a soft ball.
Yeah.
And you could also drop it in a thing of water, and it would turn into a soft
You've
ball.
got a little soft candy there, yeah.
I'm going to eat it. Okay.
All right, so.
I'll pour and you swirl.
Sure.
All right. This is the hard part. You have to work fast, because if this cools down, it turns right back to a sort of solid mass.
Well, that's there. You want to come up on the edges a little bit here? Is that what?
That smells good, doesn't it?
And the rest of that will firm up fairly readily. So we're coating the bottom edge a little bit, which will eventually be the top edge.
All right, we're flipping it. That's good, huh?
Yep, that's great.
Now, Matt and I have only ever made individual ones, but I've seen people make big ones, so we're going to try that. I need it all. This 1 cup of syrup should fill about 8 to 10 of those ramekins. So we maybe could have used a little bit more. This is my first time with 3 ramekins in 1 pie plate, so.
That'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Then,
look at that. That looks great. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
I think we did a good job with those. All right.
And
I'm
so,
going to pour.
and I think we're set enough to not disturb the hardening syrup.
Right.
I'll just pick that up slightly to make my impact a little less. So I'm not dropping it 3 more inches down onto the syrup. Syrup seems to be hardening nicely, as it did in your finger there.
Yes.
That was cool. You got a little ball of it.
Yeah. And now it's in my teeth. It's like those old Pine Brothers cough drops. Do you remember those? Can't find them anywhere.
There we go.
So I'm going to put these in the oven. Obviously, you wouldn't cook them for the same amount of time. This one will take longer.
You want to use it all up?
I think that's probably
good.
Yeah. All right.
And we've got our water.
Need to cook it in a water bath. And Matt and I both put water in the pan once the pan is in the oven, instead of trying to carry the whole thing. But we want to show you.
I think
That's good.
you're good there. Yeah.
Yep. And use hot water. Get your faucet really hot and use hot water to start. Okay. Now we're going to put this in the oven. Maybe you could open the oven for me, Matt. The oven is set at
350.
See, I did 325.
Closing that.
Oh yeah. Now we're gonna have
Okay.
now
350 for
40 minutes.
40 minutes. Did you test with a knife for doneness?
No, I don't test with a knife. I jiggle.
Jiggle. Okay.
Yeah. If it moves as a unit, it's ready. Now, I think I have some in the oven. Oh my goodness.
Beautiful.
All right. The things you learn from Julia Childs. All right. Then, what you're going to do is take them out of the water bath and allow them to cool for up to 2 days. This is a great make-ahead dessert. Or just a few hours. And at Matt's table, it's about an hour after it comes out of the oven.
You can do it hot. It is firm, so it's going to be a little, I mean, it's cooked, So it will sit up. It just won't sit up as high as if it's been chilled.
So I'm going to take some out of the refrigerator that have been chilling.
Okay.
And we'll try to unmold those.
Are we going to use this one?
I think we can. Unless
Okay.
I think it's dirty, I can grab this one.
It's got no. Okay.
Try that one.
Yep. So as a chilled custard or flan, if you will, the edges are a little grabby or clingy to the edge. So I just gently, and the top is where the most adhesion is taking place. So I'm just separating that top edge before I separate the rest of the edge. And there you can see it's coming apart kind of very nicely there. If you go right down and try to do that, you tend to rip the surface. And what we're trying to avoid, it's very picky here now, but what we're trying to avoid is the slivers of custard or flan falling off. There's that.
Flip it, Matt.
Flip it. So let's see.
It's the present. We're opening presents.
There it is.
Woohoo!
We could toast with these.
Yeah. All right.
Little leftover syrup in there. Mm-hmm. Don't ever let that go to waste.
Cheers. We'll be right back and we'll make pancakes. Okay, Matt. Now that we've made some awesome maple flan, we're going to make some awesome pancakes. Because what goes better with maple flan than pancakes with maple syrup?
And we've got leftover milk and eggs.
And syrup.
And adding a little Vermont butter to the mix as well. So let's keep using it.
And this is another one of your made up.
This is the basic recipe here from Betty Crocker. Is talking about straight up pancakes. Nothing fancy whatsoever. Soon after making it a couple times, I found that buttermilk is synonymous with pancakes. So I always go with buttermilk. Now, I don't always have buttermilk, but it's very simple to do. I would just, my recipe is 1 cup of flour, 1 egg, 1 cup of buttermilk. And then I've got pinch of, well, half a teaspoon of salt, maybe a little less, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 tablespoons of butter, melted, and 2 tablespoons of sugar. So that's it in a nutshell.
Let's see it in a bowl.
The key here is to I don't know how accurate this is, but I found whenever I'm using baking soda that you need something. There's a cup of milk. You need something to counteract the
Would it be the base?
the
You need the acid in the base?
Base,
to
right.
neutralize the pH?
Right, so that's where the vinegar comes in to counteract the baking soda. So what we've got is 1 cup of milk. I didn't say vinegar, but maybe, I don't know, tablespoon or less or more. It doesn't really matter. It did? Well, yes, and so that's...
It's a Matt Proft tablespoon.
That's...
And look at it.
There we are. So we've got,
Thickening.
it's a thickened, it's buttermilk.
There you go.
And that will do the job to counteract.
And I think that local milk thickened up a lot better than the ultra-pasteurized stuff that I might get at the restaurant.
Yeah, I dare say you're
Yeah.
right that will react. So we've got the milk set. It's fine. It's good to go. We need 1 egg. Oh, and maybe we do need, well, I can use a fork, I suppose, to beat that up, or just
I'll grab you a fork.
Okay, so I've got my milk that has turned to, has soured well. I'm going to take the egg and beat that in. And my last liquid ingredient is the butter. You got the hot hand. You got the hot hand there. You can hold maple syrup in your hand. You can hold.
That's right.
That. Okay.
I could rob a bank. No fingerprints.
All right. Wet ingredients done.
Put that aside?
Sure.
Okay.
What do I have here? I've got flour and a bit of cornmeal to equal a full cup. I did measure that. I've got buckwheat flour, which I'm not using, but just have on hand here, something to do a variation on. So, I think this is important. Ratios of baking powder to baking soda. 2 parts baking powder to 1 part baking soda. Just getting the clumps out there. And 2 tablespoons of sugar.
Two Proft tablespoons of sugar.
And a little salt.
I'm going to turn on the fire.
And so we have our dry ingredients: sugar, salt, baking powder, baking soda, flours, and I'm going to mix that up. A whisk works well here. And I think we've all heard about not over-mixing. This is also the point, over-mixing once the liquid goes in, I should say. A little dry clumpiness is fine. This is also the point where I love to add berries if that's going to be on the menu. And now we've got the wet. And with the berries or anything else going in there, you mix them in with the flour and kind of coat them.
Right, then they suspend rather than sink.
Yeah, it's sinking in. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Never chocolate chips, though.
Because you don't believe that pancakes should have chocolate chips in them?
I can't see it. Can't see it.
Try telling that to an 11-year-old.
Yes, well, that's where it all started.
Yeah.
So. Okay, there we are.
Oh, and you didn't really mix that too much at all. Beautiful.
Okay.
That looks great.
And so now we've got a hot skillet here. And Amy and I had a little, I wouldn't say disagreement, but I told her that I always throw the first pancake away or feed it to the chickens. I'm too high here.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And she, on the other hand, said that was her favorite pancake.
Because it's all crispy on the edges. I love that one. And then when it cools down, then they look more like, you know, from Friendly's or something, you know, all like golden brown all the way through. I like it crispy on the edges.
I just got a little water here. So
A little more?
that's a hot skillet. That's fine. Maybe a little hot.
Let's give it a
Asbestos
shot.
hands. So I've got my paper towel with butter. I've coated the pan. It's a little hot. Look at the batter here. It's raised up very nicely. I'm going to take my measuring spoon and use it to ladle on. Do
you make one at a time? One big one at a time?
I do one at a time, yeah. And try to fill a plate with it. Now that's...
So that takes care of one kid, and then you move on
kid.
to the next kid, right? Okay.
And that's...
Look at that. You see that?
So I'm
It's beautiful.
I'm
like
looking at
souffle.
that and saying I need a little more milk in here, maybe. And remember, the
Man
first
knows
one we
what he
throw
wants.
away. Maybe.
I'm going to eat that. Kidding me?
There, I like that better. Because, you know, round pancakes are nice. So when does it need to be turned? Sometimes
They say when the bubbles
bubbles
pop,
start to show.
there's
I
some
don't see-
popping,
Yeah,
but you need more, I think.
yeah.
So we'll give it a sec. Just a sec. And you also don't want it to burn. I mean, the first one I
That's-
usually flip earlier because the pan is hotter, right?
I think. Nice. Nice color. Well done, honey.
I'm the 2010 Vermont Chef of the Year.
Well done.
Thank you. All right. Now, we're getting a little bit antsy, aren't we? We want to put the next pancake on.
Well, we do. We have a lot of mouths to feed. But should we talk about bacon?
Let's talk about bacon. Good idea.
What
All
we
right.
have.
Let's show
We
them
have
all
our 3 bacons here. I'm holding the Wallingford Smokehouse, Cobb smoked. Amy has the
Cisco, if you can't
Cisco
tell.
here.
Look at
Yep.
the paleness of it. And this is the Locust Grove Smokehouse bacon with Pink Boot Farms pigs.
Pink Boot Farms pig, right? Yep.
Okay.
And there we go. And as I said, we're not comparing apples to apples here. These are all different critters. There's never enough bacon, there seems, for anybody. Wallingford is buying their pork bellies on the market and bringing them in, shipping them in from Iowa or wherever they're coming from. The same with
Cisco.
Cisco. Pink Boot Farm raises a heritage breed Tamworth, which, as you can see, is a fairly meaty cut here. They feed with whey for the most part, not a lot of grain, and I think it's an excellent product. Very
Yes.
very porky.
And
But
affordable.
what we're looking for too.
There's, in addition to regular pork belly bacon, they make a pork shoulder bacon, which cooks up very meaty, which would be a good alternative to, say, Canadian bacon. There's a lot to eat there. Probably the amount of meat in one of their pieces is the equivalent of a pound of that bacon. But this is what you get on your BLT when you go out for lunch, generally.
You want to do another pancake?
Yeah, we'll do one more and we'll eat that one while this one's cooking, and then we'll see if dinner's ready.
You'll eat it. Remember what I do with the first one.
Right. I turned it down.
Yeah, that's a little high there.
Still a
But
little
I
hot.
like the spread on the batter a
More
little bit
even.
more.
I can't eat a pancake without butter. It definitely was a little too thick, Matt. You're right.
Well, we
But-
could have cooked it longer and cooked that through, but not bad.
Yeah. Well, on the Big Bang Theory, they would have probably had it already made.
There, that's looking good over there. Not ready to flip, but
Okay.
a little more.
Cooking less quickly.
Yeah.
And here's some syrup. All right, I'm going to taste that. And then we're going to feed everybody dinner. We're having paella to go with our flan. I wanted to keep it in the Spanish vein, where obviously you're not all having pancakes. If you're nice to me, I'll give you a bite of mine. That is so good, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. It's been a
I'd
great.
shake your hand, but I'm full of syrup.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Thank you. Oh, that's too bad. I was going to eat it. All right. Well, that was great, huh? I can't get over how good this is. There's a few questions that the studio audience had. First is, where can they buy the Battenkill Valley milk?
Right. So Battenkill Valley, out of Salem, New York. I am getting that at the Market Wagon down in, I believe it's Shaftesbury, or right on the line of Shaftesbury, right off of exit 2 on Route 7. Take a right off of the exit, and it's just a football field down on the left. Market Wagon.
And where can you get the local bacon?
Pink Boot Farm is available at the farm in West Paulet. and I believe they are in the book. You can certainly Google them. I don't have their phone number right on the top of my head, but also available at 3 Farm, located right on Route 30 north of the village of Dorset and across from the access road that goes up to Long Trail School.
Oh, okay.
And I believe that's the only 2 places right now that
And you can get the Wallingford Locker bacon at the Wallingford Locker.
Wallingford Locker, sure.
Yep. They have great ham too, people tell me.
Yes, yeah, nice product there.
Now, is there any local pork alternative bacon that you know of?
There's, we talked about turkey bacon. There's nothing that I'm aware of that's done locally with turkey. There's one grower in Vermont that makes a sausage, Stonewood Farm, which is a pure turkey season.
And they're a pretty big farm. I
Yeah,
wonder if their
they
stuff
are.
might be available at local co-ops or something.
Oh, I know it's in some of the health food stores in town,
Oh,
actually.
great.
So,
Okay.
right in Manchester.
There you
yeah.
go.
So.
Well, Matt, I'm going to take another bite before I have to put it down. So good.
I can't
Thank
wait.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, studio audience. Thank you, NTV Land. We'll see you next time on